Well, this one's funny though that they were trying to push, like, trying to do the dogs dirty because they're always trying to push why things are easier for dudes, right? But they go, is the rest gap why women are so exhausted? So we got if you give me a siren here, Danny. New gap alert! New gap alert! New gap alert! New gap. That was pretty good.
Yeah,
I feel like we had it there.
Gap alert.
So they said that women are more exhausted. Now they're saying it's not because of all the yapping. It's not from making all the psycho TikToks. Some people have said maybe if they did a little less binging The Bachelor till all hours of the night, maybe they would have a little more energy.
Focus on their sleep.
A little less doom scrolling. Then you'd have a little less time. But they're saying it's not that.
What is it then?
In essence, the rest gap describes the idea that women get less sleep of men because of societal pressures and expectations that take their focus away from much needed rest. Zero explanation as to why.
Yeah.
They just throw that out there and you go, how do societal pressures result in less sleep? And they just go, women are conditioned to take care of others before themselves. But why does that make you sleep less? Not ringing a bell.
I mean, I can understand maybe like if you have a baby.
That's the only thing that makes sense, but that's not what they're saying.
Because the baby wants their mother. But
unfortunately, they are not saying that.
So what are they saying? What are they saying?
Well, they don't get more sleep than me, I'll tell you that much. But why? They never explain. And they go, oh, women are more empathetic. And you're like, but how does that get you less sleep?
Well, because you're so just staying up worrying about everybody. So then you can't sleep because you're just worrying. You're a bit of a worry wart.
You know what the weird thing is? I was actually thinking when I was reading this, there's so many, like, you know, this is like girl channels or like how to be a psycho.
Yeah.
There are so many. I kind of almost feel bad for girls because there are so many right now male channels that kind of like give guys good advice. You know, some of it's not, you have to parse through. Some of it, it's not all perfect, but like there's so many genuine guys that are like successful, in good shape, have a good life, that are like, you know, aggregated all their best tips and to give them on the internet.
Sure.
Women, all of their tips are legitimately why the world needs to change. Like if you're saying women, for some reason, if you're saying women have too much societal pressures and all these things are happening and that's why they're sleeping less, why would your like articles and advice not be to like how to change that for yourself?
Yeah, there's no solutions.
It's not solutions. It's like why the world's wrong.
It's more like women are more prone to complaining.
Well, apparently they're not prone to complaining, and that's why they can't sleep. We live in a productivity-obsessed world. In office settings, women are often working doubly hard to prove themselves. Again, they don't actually have any stats to back this up. They're just saying in general.
I mean, they would not be able to.
There's in general, they're like, they work twice as hard at work. Based on what? It's like, my friend Stacy was a really hard worker. I was like, mumbo jumbo.
I mean, she makes half as much as the CEO, so she must be working.
Exactly, yeah. She probably works as many hours as the CEO.
Yeah.
This is even more exacerbated for black women, other women of color, members of the LGBT community. So now fucking gay people are working harder. If anything, sometimes it's the opposite because you handle them with care a little bit. Dude, I legitimately, if I had employees, I'm just saying for myself, maybe this is whether it's good or bad, I'm probably... Like if I had a male employee, and I've had like where I worked with guys and girls, I'm actually like nicer to the girls.
Yeah.
Like obviously. Guys, I'm more likely to be
which
like,
one is more likely to cry at work?
Right. So I actually, like, it's not, they don't have to work doubly hard to prove themselves. It's the opposite sometimes.
I mean, that's the thing.
They have to work the same hard and I'll be like, great job.
Sure.
Because I'm like afraid of them a little bit.
Yeah, because they might start crying at any moment. They're a goddamn powder keg just...
But gay guys are probably sometimes more of a powder keg than women.
I don't think gay guys are gonna be crying at work.
I can see
they're gonna be more like poison. They're gonna be more like poisoning your food in the lunchroom.
Well, those just the same thing as there's lots of different types of normal people, like guys or girls. Yeah. There's a lot of different types of gay guys, right? And there's a certain type of gay guy that like handle with care.
Sure. Yeah.
Like my brother's not a handle with care gay, but there are certain gays where you just be like, that guy could fucking blow up on me any moment. Fucking put me on blast on the internet.
Mentally volatile people.
Yeah.
AKA women.
Yeah, women.
They just have very feminine. Not all.
But the thing is, if you go, we live in a productivity world. This is the first part where you're just like, they're too like worried about stuff. Like think about how much women probably are like wrapped up in like, you know, caring about every cause and all that stuff, even though none of it they can help.
Yeah, or affects them.
Right. So probably instead of practical advice, like, okay, if you're fucking thinking about that stuff and you're going to sleep just thinking about the world, like maybe you need to find a way to like wean yourself off of this shit a little bit because you're not helping anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
But the answer is more in these articles. The answer is like, no, society needs to stop giving you so much pressures and expectations. We need to stop focusing on productivity as a society.
Okay.
Right?
I mean... Productivity is not a bad thing.
So you can add the rest gap to the wealth gap,
They
the
just don't
health
have
gap.
to compete against men. They don't like that because now that they're equals, you go, okay, well then you compete against men.
Yeah, kind of is just one of those things where you're like, there is probably some degree where you're like, guys have been in the workforce longer, so they have some degree of like better coping mechanisms for it.
Yeah. And they're just not allowed to really make a huge scene out of their problems. They just have to internally deal with it.
Well, that's a point that you could easily say the other way around, right? Because they're sort of saying like, hey, women are more empathetic, so they
Women
have
are
more stress.
objectively more empathetic.
But you could also say that, men are told to suck it up more, so
Yes, for
they
sure.
suck it up more, so that's why they get less sleep, and that's why, like, it just feels like you're just listing off the differences of women, and then you never really explain how they actually affect sleep.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll concede is like, the child rearing for sure. I'm sure
That's the only one,
sure,
yeah.
which is a big one. It's not nothing,
Obviously.
but just say it. Don't say like these.
Well, if you're saying because they have kids and they send the babies, they wake up with the babies more, that's why they get less sleep. Everyone would be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're like, no, because the world's focused on productivity and that disproportionately affects women
well, you
negatively.
can't be
and you go,
super
what?
productive like in a workplace if you got all these kids to deal with.
And other sleeping women knows is another one. I'm telling you. I bring these things when there's trends, man.
Yeah.
I'm not just bringing one. I'm bringing you. There's 14 different.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Also, it catches a trend, like someone picks up on it, and then other people are like, they get their gap alarm
What?
and they all
Women
catch
aren't
on it.
sleeping?
Women aren't sleeping. Women aren't sleeping.
Women be sleeping.
Fire up the presses. Get one of these unpartisan NPR articles cooking right now. Women are sleeping less and stressed out more than ever. But again, you could.
Women are not stressed out more than ever. Based on what? Like again,
Well, I think some of it is based on their choices to be like engaging with like stressful
but
content
these are
online consistently,
literally
right?
claims that are impossible.
Dude,
to
if you're outside
you can say like,
protesting
"Hey,
every
men
day."
are more jealous than ever." You go, "What the fuck does that mean?"
Yes, I agree with you.
Go, men are more jealous than ever. You go, explain. You go, I can't, but I know they are.
Then ever they were more stressed out than like when their family was being like raided by
Exactly,
you
like
know?
when you're like in the middle of the night, like a fucking bomb dropped on you.
They were probably
Dude,
more stressed out then.
I visited my grandma the other day.
That is a good point, though. It is just a random things that probably can't be proven.
Yeah, I was seeing.
And there also might be a thing where you're just like, if women are stressed out more than ever, you could also say it's like, well, yeah, because they used to stay at home with the kids and now they have to have jobs.
Yeah,
and that's more stressful.
Yeah, and
like
they
part
still
of it-
have some responsibilities.
Like part of it, you could just be like, well, women are more stressed, and you're like, well, yeah, now they're like working at like banks and stuff like that, and they used to just sit at home fucking feeding applesauce to a kid,
yeah, that's more stressful.
watching Barney.
And you still got to think about your kid. Like you still probably have more than 50% of that responsibility.
But if you were trying to solve it, like they're not usually trying to solve. These articles are never trying to solve it. They're trying to be like, and fucking fix it, pal.
Yeah.
Change everything.
Yeah.
But what you should be, it's like, well, okay, so how do you figure out how to get started? Probably exercise probably helps that. Like, again, try to engage with less stressful content. Stop worrying about things you can't control. I've seen a lot of
Stop
people
worrying
that are
about
very
things you
stressed
can't
out.
control is like maybe the number one thing.
That's a big one that I noticed with like, it's a younger person too. A lot of these things that you'd say women, they also like appeal to like younger people where you're just like, yeah, you don't like when you look at your life like objectively, you're just like, don't get overly stressed over the things that aren't actually helping you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know you always like to make fun of me because my friends were like not dialed into anything, but I was just hanging out. Hanging out with a bunch of them. They're not stressed out because
you have three
they
friends.
don't know any of it. I'm telling you, it's more than that, and they just like
You don't have that many
they
friends. I don't
what's-
know. You claim that he lives in New York. Danny claims he has this hordes and hordes of friends.
These are all my friends back in Canada.
They go to different schools.
They go to different schools. You don't know them.
I've known Danny for 15
They're just
years.
my friends from high school.
I've known Danny for 15 years. Probably seen you 2-3 times a week for 15 years. Never heard of these guys. The only time they come
met
up is when they have to support one of your points.
Yeah.
These 15 men that all happen to agree with you.
They don't agree with me. I'm just saying they don't know what's going on.
I know you got your
and
couple of suburb golfing buddies that don't pay attention.
they don't have social media. It's a great life. No, but even their chicks and stuff, they don't care about any of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure there's different stresses. Depends on your job, right? Like if you have the big stress is like if you have a stressful job or not.
They're just their job. Yeah, they're just. But again, imagine you have your job and then also like all these fucking random things going on in just the world.
Yes.
On top of that, like your job, you can control. You go, I can show up to work an hour earlier. I can stay an hour later. I can be more productive. I can blah 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 blah. Like,
well, especially now, people are working from home. It's like these people like. It's saying they're stressed out more than ever. It's like, well, you're kicked up in your pajamas, fucking working on your laptop, doing a Zoom call.
That too. Yeah.
It's probably easier. Maybe not better for the companies, but for people, it's like you literally, so many people that entered the workforce now, you work 2 hours a day less just because you don't commute.
Yeah. Like those people working down the street at Google, they're like, probably all those chicks are like, I'm more stressed out than I've ever been. And you're like, why? You're like, Israel.